All right, let's talk about a type of athlete that pretty much every coach has encountered, the analytical thinker. You know, the one who's brilliant, methodical, totally data-driven, but that amazing brain of theirs can sometimes be their own worst enemy. So today, we're going to dive into how to turn that overanalysis into, well, peak performance.
I mean, you know the one, right? They can tell you their lactate threshold off the top of their head. They track every single watt. They've got a spreadsheet for their nutrition. But then the gun goes off, the pressure's on, and something just freezes. It's a super common frustration, and it really just boils down to understanding how their brain is wired.
So let's give this athlete a name, the analytical thinker. And here's the paradox, right? Their greatest strength, that logical, data-first approach, is the exact same source of their biggest struggle. They can get so stuck in their own head that they hesitate when it matters most.
Okay, so if we're going to coach them effectively, we first have to get inside their heads. Let's really break down the core profile of this analyst athlete. Now, what's so interesting here is how all these traits are completely connected. Because they're logical and structured, they naturally love data. And because they love data, they absolutely need to know the why behind every single workout. They're trying to build a perfect, bulletproof process. But here's the catch. When they're faced with too many variables or choices, that whole system can just grind to a halt in classic decision paralysis. So the key here isn't to try and change who they are. Seriously, you can't just tell an analyst to go with their gut or just feel it out. It won't work. The real goal is to harness those natural strengths and give them the tools to succeed within their own logical framework. This right here, this might be the most important thing to remember. Empty platitudes like, "You've got this," or "just trust me," they're going to fall completely flat. They don't want your belief. They want your logic. They need to see the cold, hard evidence that backs up the plan.
And wow, this slide just nails the difference, doesn't it? Over on the left, you've got that vague feedback that just creates doubt. But on the right, you've got effective, data-backed feedback that actually builds confidence. Instead of saying, trust the process, you're explaining why the process is going to work. Instead of a generic, good job, you're pointing to objective data that proves they are ready. So how do we actually provide that structure they crave? Well, it's all about building an environment that speaks their language. It means using metrics to prove your points, breaking the entire season into logical phases with really clear benchmarks, and always backing up your plan with evidence. You're basically replacing a shaky foundation of instinct with a rock-solid foundation of reason that they can truly trust. Okay, now for the biggest challenge of all, turning all of that incredible analysis into decisive action on race day. This is where we teach them how to get out of their own way. We can actually break this down into a really simple 3-step playbook. To beat decision paralysis, you've got to create these frameworks before the pressure hits. So, number 1, set clear, hard and fast rules. 2, limit their choices. And 3, put a clock on the decision itself. This is a perfect example of a decision-making rule. See how it's not about how you feel? It's a logical database trigger. It takes all the emotional guesswork out of a huge race date decision and replaces it with a simple, pre-agreed formula. This is the kind of clarity the analytical athlete absolutely thrives on. And this number, 24, is such a powerful tool. When you're talking about making a change to a race plan or a workout, give them a 24-hour time limit. This respects their need to process and analyze, which they have to do, but it puts a hard stop on it. It prevents them from endlessly tweaking and second-guessing themselves right up until the last minute. The rule is review, analyze, and then commit. Okay, so we've got a solid plan, we've got clear rules, but we all know races are messy, they're never predictable, so let's move on and talk about how to prepare the analytical thinker for the one thing they dread the most, the unexpected. For an analyst, the fear of the unknown can be completely debilitating. Their mind just spins out of control with all the possible things that could derail their perfect plan. The solution isn't to just tell them, don't worry about it. It's to give them a logical tool to manage that uncertainty. And that tool is if-then planning. This is literally how you make them adaptable. You work together to script responses to potential problems before they ever happen. So, if this specific problem occurs, then they execute this predetermined solution. It turns a moment of potential panic into just another step in the plan. You're giving them a logical fix for a potentially illogical situation. And this really is the ultimate mindset shift. You have to teach them that no race is perfect. Things will go wrong. The goal isn't to have a flawless plan. It's to have a flawless execution of your adaptations. You have to frame adaptability not as some vague feeling, but as a trainable, logical skill, just like pasting or fueling. So let's bring it all together. Think of this as your quick reference guide, your winning playbook for coaching your analytical athlete all the way to success.
This slide is basically your cheat sheet. On the left, you've got the do's. Give them structure, use data, set those frameworks, plan for contingencies, and normalize uncertainty. And on the right, the absolute avoids. Don't be vague, don't give them a million options, avoid last-minute changes, don't push pure instinct, and whatever you do, don't let them get stuck in that paralysis loop. When it's all said and done, it comes down to this one simple idea. Your job as a coach is to provide that rock-solid structure they need to build their confidence, and then teach them how to apply all that logic flexibly when things don't go according to plan. It's the art of balancing two things that seem like opposites, but really aren't.
And that leaves us with one final question to think about. The goal isn't just to create the perfect plan on paper. The real victory is developing an athlete who has the confidence and the tools to adapt, overcome, and perform no matter what race day throws at them. So ask yourself, are you just building a plan, or are you building a performer?